Yo, 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 I am Dustin Mikesell, and this is the Watchmen Inc. podcast. Are you tired of the deception of the Matrix? Here, we will build a case around God's plan for the mad world, using biblical history and the application of the scriptures to provide hope and truth in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Watchmen Inc. podcast, and here we are again with another one. And you know who's joining me today? My co-host, my man in Christ, Taylor McCall. How we doing today, buddy?
Doing good. Feels good to be back once again.
Yeah, great to be back. And this is a wonderful time to be alive because we are truly in the thick of things in the sense of, the world just continues to truck along with all of its crazy corruption and all of the things that we're seeing happen today. And then also, we may get into a little bit more of the Bible stuff, continuing on what we've been talking about in the past, the Genesis 6 conspiracy and the Genesis ordeal of how much is happening in Genesis before the great flood and how this spirit and this mentality has begun to develop on the earth through these ancient civilizations and these practices. Like last episode, we were talking about a man named Bill Cooper. It pretty much was doing what we were doing, but in the 90s. And that's, I think, very relevant even today because you try to find his material and it's very hard to find, which is interesting. If he's such a crazy conspiracy theorist, like they label him, when you look up who he is, why wouldn't you just let his videos live online? But for some reason, it's getting harder and harder over the years to find these things.
Well, it's been proven time and time again. YouTube has scrubbed files, people's stories and things like that. So it it changed. I don't know exactly when, but we were kind of around the end of when YouTube wasn't, super sketch and just pretty much hard to verify anything off of it now. And so it's changed a lot.
Yeah, we started what, like 2012, like when we got together and we started working and hanging out, and we would get off of work and we would just binge watch videos because they didn't have this algorithm built in. Because it is kind of sad to see that the information that even just a decade ago, not long ago, but long enough that it's changed that drastically that you pretty much got to almost go back to the books now, like Behold a Pale Horse and stuff by Fritz Springmeier. That's another name, and he's actually a local, and his books are insane.
Yeah, he was from Oregon City, or that's where he was when before he went to like prison for 8 years or
Wait,
something
why
like
did he go
that.
to prison? Wait, I forgot. He went to prison. Why did he go to prison?
I want to say it was, well, I
Some
don't remember,
some
but I
beef.
think it was tax evasion or
Oh,
something.
of course it was
You
the
know,
easiest thing.
yeah,
Le-
it was something like that. But yeah, he was
That's
in there for a decent amount of time.
That's crazy. I forgot that he went to jail and
Oh
for
yeah,
that long too, 8 years.
was it 8 years?
Okay. Well, let me see. So the article says right here in 2003, Illuminati researcher Fritz Springmeier, the author of the alternative research classics Bloodlines of the Illuminati and the Illuminati Formula used to create an undetectable total mind control slave, was sentenced to 12 years in prison on the basis of no evidence. His experience suggests that at any time, the Illuminati can put anyone away who irritates them. So, yeah, this is like one of those websites where people are like, well, of course, this person writing this is like, for
Yeah,
him, and they're going to say this isn't like ABC News. Well, yeah, because they would have never even had, like, this guy would have never got the time of day talking about the bloodlines of the Illuminati. You have to think about this. Like, the people that own these corporations and the people that are at the top. I mean,
hmm
your little one-eyed organizations, the One Eye, which is just literally littered in all main media, they're never gonna completely come out here and tell you, yeah, we arrest this guy because he's exposing us. Like they would never want that covered. They want people to think that these men are crazy. Hence, what they did to Bill Cooper. And if you haven't already gone and watched the documentary, you can just find it easily on YouTube still, luckily, because like I said, people do want this information to stay alive, and people like, me and Taylor and other tons of other people. There's this thing called archive.com. And guess what? Once something goes on the internet and somebody that is smart they'll take that particular piece of material and they'll put it into the archive of all the internet. And so like that's how actually a lot of tweets that people end up deleting back in the like so like Chrissy Teigen, John Legend's wife. Ooh, without name dropping and too hot off the bat, she has some risque tweets that she had her, and they obviously all got deleted,
Hmm.
and guess what, even if you delete it, somebody else took a nice little screenshot, click click, and screen recorded or whatever, because that's literally like that's
What?
what people need to understand, is that like you got to be careful with what you put on the internet. All of us are susceptible to having our information stolen. That's why, I mean, you
Oh
you
yeah.
you try to be as safe as you can on these spaces, is because you have a million different passwords and all this stuff, is because the amount of deception that can happen, in the sense of like, I mean, look at all these schemes, like of people that will send you an email and say you owe the cops $5,000 or they're going to come arrest you. And people that aren't well versed that that's like a scam, there's been countless amount of people fall for these scams and all these different things on the internet. So like the
Oh yeah.
internet is so crazy that if you
Man,
put something
scammers
on
are
there,
everywhere
yeah, if you put
nowadays.
something on there, you better realize that somebody probably screenshotted it. So be careful, because if you think that, oh, I put it now, but it's going to be gone later. Well, if somebody's seen it and didn't want it to be gone later, all you got to do on your iPhone is press two buttons and pretty much can snap whatever's on the screen. And that's how I
Hmm.
post a lot of my content. I just screenshot stuff. And then essentially, then I have an archive too. So that's why when I tell people on my Instagram, I'm like, dude, I got to get super organized, because when you've been screenshotting for the last 12 years, you can only imagine the amount of hard drive gigage I have in photo alone, let alone video recording and just other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's
Website.
not even conspiracy stuff. It's just like, hey, this article from ABC News, I
Right.
want to see what happened in 2001. And because sometimes, like they don't keep those old of articles,
Right.
they will archive it, because then you can still go find the, like when you would go to a library, it's just pretty much like a public library archive where people would go and be like, I want to find the newspaper articles or different things that were kept for record. Lots of stuff is archived. So if you think that your stuff is safe on the internet, just listen here now. Be careful. And we've all probably posted some risky stuff, things said, whatever, but just know, if there's somebody that wants it to not die, and they have a very easy way of keeping it alive. And so I think that's what gets a lot of these kind of people in trouble too, is I think they get a bit arrogant and they start posting about stuff or making stuff and thinking, oh, the general public won't notice it, and then it will just kind of die under the wind, but we still got what we wanted out there for a few, you know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like movies that, like, even these cult classics and stuff, these movies are really crazy with the stuff that they're putting inside of the movies, with all this biblical attachment, demons, angels, Satan, God, even, the God complex. It's really all crazy. And
Mm.
so,
Trying to
um,
think of the really terrible one. Oh, Legion. Did you ever see that movie?
nope, nope. Well, how bad
It's
is it?
it's it's got some famous actors, but it's literally, I'm pretty sure it's Michael and Gabriel, the archangels,
Oh, I think,
fighting each other because a human lady got pregnant, and one side of the angels, I think sent from God, want to like kill the baby or something, and
oh,
and he fights to protect it. He's like the fallen angel that fights for the humans and is the good guy, of course. And the one sent from God is the bad guy, and it's like,
yeah. And that's even like the City of Angels with Nicolas Cage. Isn't he a fallen angel that ends up falling in love with Meg Ryan in City of
oh
Angels?
yeah,
It's
it
been
is
a long
City of
time.
Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he's an
that's
angel.
the same kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like they copycat, and doesn't matter major film or small budget film, because you guys got to understand, these guys understand how to tap into this. It's called automatic writing. Okay. And people do this. Like they literally pray to spirits and they do incantations, and they get these spirits to give them information. And actually, a recent movie that I just watched about this was 3,000 Years of Longing. Did you get to see
Oh
that
yeah,
movie yet?
haven't seen it yet.
Dude, it's about a fallen jinn. Okay, so they call him a jinn. So of course they don't call
Right.
him a demon. So most people won't know exactly what he is unless they're religious. Because I believe in Islam is that they call demons jinn, right?
Yeah.
Or even
Hmm.
I think Hinduism too.
Yeah,
Jinn is a common term for like another term for demon. So if you hear the word
right. Well, and
jinn,
people say, "No, it means genie," and it's like,
that's the same thing. In
yeah, they say
Christianity,
there's
a
not really
genie and
a
a
whole
jinn are a
lot to, like,
demon. Like
yeah.
anything that is manifested or that wants to be manifested through a ritual or a sacrifice or some type of, human initiation. So that's why, like, in these movies and these TV shows, they show you, like in Hocus Pocus, okay, for instance, she puts a circle of salt around herself to keep the witches' spirits because they can't like overcome salt,
Mhm.
which that's kind of interesting in that movie because we're, as the body of Christ, are called the salt of the earth. So it's interesting, even in the Disney movie, that like the witches, the ones that literally worship Satan, they put Satan in Hocus Pocus when they go to the dude's house and they're like, Master! And it's a dude dressed up like Satan. And so they're literally giving homage to their God. And then she's got the
I
Living
always
Dead.
thought that was weird growing up.
Dude,
I mean, I
sit.
get it, but it's like, yeah,
It,
if witches were real, in which they are,
oh, they're
uh,
very real. Anybody that's like witches are just from Harry Potter, no, they've taken the concept of witches and witchcraft and they've blended it with entertainment so that you
mhm,
look at it and think that it's fake, but they see it and they understand the forces. And that's kind of directly back to the old. Like these people understand these deeper spiritual things is because this was documented. There's tons of books. There's, like that's what essentially the Ninth Gate movie with Johnny Depp is about too, is him finding this old school book to literally bring and summon Satan himself. But you have to have all the like pieces together in order to do it. And so he's on a mission to find like the authentic copy of the one. But then through his discovery of researching all these like special books to summon Satan, he finds out that there's actually multiple books that are actually all authentic and that you need each one of them. They're each like keys in order to open the ninth gate. And so in that movie, it's spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, the
right.
dude that ends up paying Johnny Depp is a super rich, wealthy, of course, like college professor that's teaching crazy stuff about deep history and esoteric nature.
Mm,
That's the course that he's teaching. And then he obviously has a super big private library of books and all of these books that like Johnny Depp is like, wow, this is an impressive collection. And he's like, well, yeah, I've spent my whole life dedicating myself to this. So like this guy's talking about, this is my life. Like regardless of my teaching and my students, this mission to summon Satan is my true purpose. And Johnny Depp is thinking he's crazy in the movie. He's just like, what do I got to do? And he goes, you do whatever means necessary to get me this book, or make sure that these copies are authentic, and that mine's the real one so that I can know. And so that's the whole Ninth Gate movie, is Johnny Depp going and trying to travel through Europe, and he's getting chased by a bunch of people because these books are worth millions of dollars. Like that's
right.
how valuable they are. And so yeah, that's the thing. They've got books, they've got things, and they tell you in movies. So yeah, you'll never see the light of day because it's probably in the Vatican. Honestly, I'd love to see the secret library of the Vatican and all the amount of wealth and knowledge that they have amassed in their underground city. Like Rome
Mm,
never truly died. Rome just took on a new face, like most tyrant, conquering nations did. I mean, even England, like you need to understand, even the Revolutionary War. See, Americans are going to get really mad at me right now because they're going to be like, you anti-patriot. And it's like, well, when you understand that the Revolutionary War was funded by the both, like the one party funded both sides. So see, even though there was a group of small men, just like there's always been with God and throughout history, trying to really fight for civilization and God and freedom, there's a
mhm,
group of men that know if we can fund everything, aka we provide all of the assets and the baseline to how this all gets generated, then we are the masters of ultimately the destiny of that place or nation. And that's why the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers pretty much just went throughout history untouched with just using crazy scenarios of buying up resources and land and then creating these private banks so that they could literally destroy nations.
mhm. Yeah, that's how society's been controlled since the Federal Reserve System really has taken place in not just this country, but lots of others, is money.
It's always money, dude. Mammon, Matthew 6. You need to choose your master on earth. Do you worship mammon and the earth and its worldly possessions, or do you worship Jesus Christ and his heavenly possessions of You're not here to build up riches on earth because you leave it all to some other man. Just realize that
I'm
now, no
not
matter.
saying money's evil either.
No, no, and I've said that countless times on my Instagram stories and even in podcasts before. Money is not evil. God doesn't say if you have money, it's evil. No, he says the love of money. It's when you're willing to literally sell your soul because that's what God says. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul? You'd rather be a poor man on earth and then die and go to heaven and be rich in heaven where you live forever than live for a short time here and then die and lose it all. I mean, look at Steve Jobs. He built this great company and yet he didn't really even see where it's at now. Somebody else took it from him, whether that be his own family or another man with the same agenda. Like no longer the thing that he created and that is essentially his creation on earth and his legacy. Yes, his name's attached to it, but he has nothing to do with it. Nobody talks about Steve Jobs today other than the guy that started it. But everything that's going on today, nobody thinks about Steve Jobs because he's dead. And he was
Yeah.
rich as he was. He had enough money to do anything he
Well, it
wanted, but he
happens to
couldn't.
all of us.
And exactly. So we don't like talking about death necessarily in our podcast, but I also am in the boat of it's an important thing to remind yourself of every day because people are dying right now and people are not
Mhm.
planning on dying right now. Like there's somebody that just got in a car wreck that you don't have any idea. They went through their day like you go, and then somebody unfortunately wasn't paying attention or something happened, and accidents happen. And that's the unfortunate part about God and his plan with sin is that we are not protected from the accidents. Even if God has our soul saved, our flesh is what condemns us on
Mhm.
this like realm of reality. Like me and Taylor are both secure. We both know we're going to heaven. So we could both get struck by lightning right now and know that it's just our flesh dying and that our souls would be still alive. But we can't stop our flesh from being dead. And that's why it's important, I think, as the body to talk about it because I think with this movement of new age Christianity starting that's literally embracing these mystery schools ideology and blending it with Christianity. The whole point of what Christ came to do was to teach you to expand your consciousness and your mind and
Mm.
be like God. Do you see that? Do you see how that's happening today in the
Well, yeah.
church? And so that's the deception that the church needs to be aware of is now the mystery schools knowing that their stuff is out in the open, people are waking up to it, they understand the symbolism. Well, now they're just going to try to merge it with God and say, well, this is what God actually meant. And if somebody's not reading their Bible and then doesn't understand the new age speak that they're implementing into the Bible or with God's word, you will be deceived into thinking like you're this Christ consciousness, like you're embracing yourself like Christ, like you will be like Christ. But it doesn't mean that we are ever going to be like Christ because he's God. So don't let anybody ever deceive you when they say like, oh, it's about the Christ consciousness. That alone should throw up a red flag in your head that they are trying to
But yeah.
blend
Anytime
new.
you start hearing consciousness,
Yes,
that's the
that's the
because you
key.
just have to be
That
weary.
is
It's a slippery slope from there, pretty much.
that's the new age religion is that like
Mhm.
we're going to evolve past even flesh now. So see, they've got people thinking that you're going to merge with AI. I mean, this right now, as we speak, the FDA has approved Elon Musk use for Neuralink in human testing. Like they're
I
not
know.
quite there, but
I'm
dude, it's
telling you,
approved.
that's gonna be like a I feel like that's gonna be such a
It's literally Daniel's vision. It's literally
well,
the
like
iron
such a
mix.
turning point in society.
But that's the thing is he's doing it with the monkeys right now, dude. You can go on YouTube right now and type in Elon Musk Neuralink monkeys, and these monkeys are using computers now. They're trained because they're animals. You know what I mean? So yes, we have
Mhm.
to think that a human mind and a monkey mind. See, this is why I don't believe in evolution, is because these monkeys they're obeying Elon with this chip and they're learning like it's crazy what they're doing. They're intelligent animals are smart. Like anybody that is a Christian and doesn't believe in evolution doesn't deny the fact that creation is very intelligent and very interlinked and
Oh, animals.
they're in tune with things beyond what we are in tune with because they don't have that free will. They're programmed. Animals are pretty much programmed
Well,
to
it's kinda
work
like
off of
all
instinct.
instinct
Yeah, it's
too.
all instinct.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
instinct. We have instinct, but we have the consciousness of our
Mhm.
instinct. I know that I'm in trouble right now, or I know that I need to not do this. Like I said, that's how you can get a dog every time at the racetrack. Like, you think these dogs are these are highly intelligent animals and
Hmm.
and bred to be doing what they're doing. But all it takes is a little rabbit on a stick to make them run around and around and around, and they don't have any consciousness of like they're just using me to make money. The dog don't know that, and the dog will never know that. Hence, you'll never see everything anything in the animal kingdom evolve from where it's at because animals are literally just
Well,
instinctive programmed creation.
yeah, and that gift of reason, with if you believe in evolution, that's what happened basically in evolution in their minds. And so it's like animals obviously evolved to that last point, and then they got that spark of reason, which the mystery schools teach, and that's when mankind evolved then, and now we're apparently going to evolve again, is what the new agers think, because we have to save the planet, because the humans are going to destroy it, in their own words.
And this goes right into the month that we're into, which unfortunately is going to probably tick some people off. But I get a little bit offended when June comes around because we all know that it's Pride Month. And let's just get this out in the clear right now. If you're homosexual or you have issues with that stuff, I love you. Hear it from me now. I'm not going to look at you and say, "Oh, you deserve to go to hell," because your sin of homosexuality or this sin that's being indoctrinated into society right now and pushed is no worse than the sexual sin of people committing adultery or cheating on their wife or looking at
No.
pornography.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at pornography and you want to go condemn a homosexual, you are worse. Some people say, "What? No," and it's like that's what God thinks. So don't base off what I judge you as. I don't judge people and where they're going. Yes, I can judge your fruit, but that's the thing is I see too many people in the Christian community right now that want to instead of help try to get people in this community, the LGBTQ community. I can't even say it because there's so many. I'm
LGI
not here to offend. I'm just here
plus
to say
or
that this
something.
is a satanic agenda because look at they call it Pride Month. Okay, where does the spirit of pride come from? It's literally the number one sin.
Well, it is weird that it's like one of the seven deadly sins that people know about, and it's a whole month celebration for it. It's just kind of a weird symbolic thing. Like, it's
Well, and
good to
then
have
it
pride,
gets
but when you have way too much pride and are filled with pride, there's a bunch of examples in the Bible about when that happens.
literally if you just go right now on a piece of paper and write out Pride Month and then look what the middle says. It says
Oh yeah,
demon.
I've seen some of those
It
graphics before.
literally says demon. So they're telling you the agenda. And then what's worse is they stole a symbol. Maybe they don't necessarily, you know, steal the rainbow and have the rainbow completely, but they use the color of the rainbow. It's literally a covenant between God and mankind from the flood. So here we are back at the beginning. Pride Month, we're literally engaging into something that is God's covenant as now perversion.
Hmm.
This is what we're talking about. Why it's so hard to stay on topic and tell you about the old, but also we can tell you about the new because this month is literally signifying and what it represents blasphemy against God and his covenant to mankind. And so let's look at the Bible verse right now in Genesis 9:12, okay? After the flood, there appeared a rainbow. And God said, so Genesis chapter 9, verse 12, and God said, "This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth." All right?
Mm.
So when the this community comes out and says that the rainbow color is theirs, they're liars. I'm sorry. And you need to understand you're stealing something that's biblically rooted
Well, yeah,
in
they're
the
just trying to
beginning.
co-op something. I mean, because
And it's like everything, the
unfortunately,
sun, even.
well, it
The-
shows you the power of marketing and stuff, because
yes.
this. How did this happen? Well, someone decided to pick that as the universal symbol. And I know it's the colors and they relate it somehow to all that kind of thing, but
Well, I've heard it's related to the esoteric chakra system. So, like, that's actually how they arrange their colors is according to the rainbow. But then you've got that part of the mystery school with the chakra system. I don't like getting into this stuff in the sense, but I got to make people aware of it. That's the whole point
well,
of
right.
Watchmen Inc. is we
Hmm.
don't believe in chakra systems
No.
because Not one time does Jesus or the Bible talk about your chakra and the
Well, that's
enlightenment
part
of
of the
each energy.
consciousness thing. It gets
That's
back to that
exactly it. So
too.
see, you need to know there's so many branches of this stuff that have been implemented into society, religion, art, whatever it is. That's what it is. It's a big blending. Like we're in a big
Hmm.
blender right now, and that's what Satan wants. Because in a blender, when I put a smoothie into a blender, I see the strawberries, I see the blueberries, I see the different aspects of everything. But once you blend it all up, you don't know what's what. You just know it's all in there, but you have
Mm,
no idea visually. So if you hand somebody a blender full of the smoothie fruit without blending it, they'll say, "Oh, I know 4 different fruits are in here." Like they can easily discern what's going on in the blender. But then you hand it to them, blend it, and you say, "What's in this smoothie?" Well, they got to taste it now, smell
mm,
it maybe, and maybe they'll come out with the understanding that it's a bunch of different things in this one drink. But if you weren't shown it and now you're having to go off these other senses, which are not nearly as powerful as the visual sensation, you'll be so easily just say, "Well, I don't care what's in the blender. Like, I'll just take what I like. If it's a good drink, then I'll drink it." You know what I mean? And that's a weird analogy, but it's just like came to my mind because it does, like Taylor said, that visual marketing and that representation is how Satan works. And that's the light. Like that's the light of
hmm,
him. That is the light of Satan and how he uses production and lights and cameras and movie magic to
hmm.
deceive our eyes. And our eyes are already deceiving because like the way our eyes even work, the cones in our eyes, like we're reflecting images upside down into our brain. Like it is so crazy when you actually get into the scientific part about how our eyes and our ocular nerves connected to our brain and how that stimulates the
Well,
brain.
that's why it's impossible to think that that all just evolved and happened. Like,
Exactly. I mean, there's a few animals that like they literally shouldn't be alive because in order for them to function and live, they would need all the necessary parts to live and continue to live and not naturally adapt or evolve over time if they didn't have that certain trait. And so it's really amazing. And like, I don't really want to tangent into that right now, but it is
right.
amazing. There are some animals, like animals in general, that evolution can't explain because they shouldn't, like dead things can't evolve. That's also what's interesting is like how does something learn that it needs a better quality or trait when it's going to die from not having that initially? How do you just
Hmm.
like you know what I mean? Like they say over time it learns, but how does something that's dead learn that it needs that, if it wasn't able to survive? So that's the amazing thing about that. But yeah, even evolution is going to tie into everything because we're going to actually watch a couple clips here in a little bit about Bill Cooper and his show, The Hour of the Time. I actually wanted to do this last episode by I'm getting into the YouTube now where we can present more YouTube videos or just like pieces of audio that we want to listen to and have you hear so that you know that like this was a man in his I was still a baby when this guy was talking about the stuff we're talking about. So see, it's just you're willing to like go and dig into what other people have already been blown. There's been many Watchmen
Hmm.
before us, many, and there still are
Well, I think,
many.
yeah, there were people before him, obviously, but it just like was very, very like niche, and then it kind of starts to come out. And then with media, internet,
That's what was big for
information
him.
can get out. So when that really happened, like YouTube, where you could kind of just post a video of anything, even if it was like random enough and not like
I would just
obviously.
sometimes watch videos with pictures, like just slideshows of YouTube videos. Like I'd read everything on YouTube, but it would be
Oh
like a
yeah,
slideshow
and it'd
presented.
have
And
music playing
and it
in the
would have
background or
music in the
something.
background or something.
Hmm.
Exactly. So there's still plenty of stuff because YouTube is so big. That's why I hate promoting it, but at the same time, there's nothing like it because nothing has ever existed like YouTube. I mean, there's Rumble now, you got Odyssey,
Hmm.
you got all these like little ones that are trying and they're doing a good job, but because YouTube is so old and because the archive list is so old, this is why I tell people too, you need to understand words. If you want to find something, you need to know the right words to search now. Like that's the unfortunate part of the society we live in with the suppression and the
Hmm.
trying to whitewash this stuff and make it less accessible is that you need to know certain words, like we said, chakra, consciousness, uh,
Hmm.
Christ consciousness. Like there's some key words that you can look up and then like you add deception to them. And then you might be able to find now instead of things that are promoting that, you'll find the opposite. So you just got to be careful about how you search and look up things. And that's a skill that you'll learn as you get into investigating, like anything, like you
Oh
learn how
yeah.
to
Well, you
investigate
hear a
better.
word and you get,
That's the
curious
thing.
about it and you just go research it and Sometimes it leads to nothing, and sometimes, but it's like then you've learned something.
When I see a word in the Bible I don't understand, or I want to like talent, like I knew what a talent was, but when you actually go and study what the word talent is, a lot of people associate it with, like, with today's word of talent,
Mm,
like you've got
mm.
a skill or you've got something, and a talent was actually the weight of
Yeah.
something when the Bible's talking about. So see,
Well, it's like
you
a
can,
money.
it was the weight of the money. So like a talent was a scale, like something that was weighed, like the weight of something, you know. So yes, it was a physical good, but the way it was used in the context of the Bible isn't how we would like. If so, you said, "Hey, I have a talent," someone would say, "Oh, well,
Mm,
what is it?" You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't ask, "Oh, what's the weight of it?" So that's where you need to understand words, and it's really important that while you're studying the Bible, if you come across the word or you even come across something you don't understand fully, why continue forward and leave that piece kind of unturned when you can maybe gain a deeper understanding of what's going to come after that word was spoken in the Bible to gain a better sense. Like, so when I, because I read the King James, and so a lot of people say, well, the King James is outdated. No, it's not. You just got to go look up what some words mean. If you don't understand it or haven't heard it, they're not
it's like, yeah,
archaic.
it's like a
Like Roth.
outdated language. Look at how
Roth.
quickly language adapts nowadays
Yeah.
too,
Well,
just with all the slang and stuff. We don't
it,
speak anything close to proper English, so yeah, it
no.
feels like a different language. It
Does people know what the term wrath is? When the Bible says God was wrath, that means
oh,
he was very angry. He was
mhm,
very
yeah,
mad. And now you wouldn't say that today. You wouldn't say, I'm wroth at you. Like, you know, I'm so wroth at you. It sounds archaic, but the Bible is translating archaic text, and it's trying to
mm,
make the best interpretation, not the interpretation of the time, but what the actual times of when the word was written. What does that mean? And that's why I personally like the King James translation, is because these men were great scholars. And when you read about the Protestant Reformation and all this, like that's a whole, oh, that's years of podcasting. That's years of podcasting, seriously, to get into like what Bible, this and
mhm.
that, how the translations came. But that's beside the point. Words are such an important tool for a human to understand, not only within the context of their time, but the context of when they're reading something, whether that be the Bible or an ancient text or a document. You don't want to take what you think a word means. You need to research and see what that word means at the time when it was translated. Therefore, you're now getting the translation of what was being said during the time. And then you're not putting this
Right, you're
confusion. And that's how
contextualizing it. Mhm.
exactly. And so I think that's where a skill that like a lot of Christians just don't have or
Well,
practice.
unfortunately, a ton of scripture gets taken out of context too, it
That's
gets
the problem.
twisted and manipulated, and then people use it for their own agenda, which is, one of the worst things you can do is twist the word of God and use it to your own agenda. And I mean, that's kind of what New Age does. They basically say that Jesus is fine as long as you don't believe he's the only way.
And it goes back to that mentality of man is being influenced by something else other than himself, because Satan was in the garden and influenced man to fall. So therefore, he knows that he can influence every single piece of creation from the time of the fall. Satan knows I have this power, and God's like, yeah, I've allowed it because this is essentially the free will, but I'm going to interject my plan into your now, plan that you've created against me. And we see this in Isaiah chapter 14. And in verse 12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon also the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. And what does God tell him in verse 15? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
Yeah, a lot of people on that column try to say that like he's trying to reference a man and not actually Lucifer. And it's like a man wasn't cut down from the sky and weakened the nations. No,
Well, no,
that's not.
and because in Revelation, when it talks about the great dragon, the deceiver, Satan has many names. He's the snake,
Well,
Satan, the father of
yeah, it's
lies,
the
the the
deceiver.
the
Yeah,
deceiver,
exactly.
the enemy. I mean, he has many different names and many different forms because he doesn't play by the same rules.
Well, and
And
what is it really in the end? It's death. It's
He's
death,
and that's because he has chosen
spiritual death.
spiritual death, exactly. And so you got to understand, we're trying to warn people about this stuff is because he's got the same influence over the nations today as he
Well,
did back in the
dude,
time right now in Isaiah.
there's a good verse that talks about like you should be more afraid of the like spiritual death than the physical death.
Don't fear the
Hmm.
one that can kill the body, but fear the one that can kill the body and the
Yeah.
soul. Um, but yeah, no, seriously, is this, see how we're back and forth the whole podcast, but it's easily relatable and we can flow into all of this is because we've taken the time to see these connections from this stuff that we're seeing on earth right now and these ideologies and these mysteries, and we're just applying them to the Bible.
Hmm.
And so Matthew 10:28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and the body in
Well,
hell.
yeah, this is Jesus speaking at that
That's, yes. Oh
point.
yeah.
It's
This is
like,
all. Yeah.
this is the ultimate authority talking right now. So just saying, if he says you should worry about something, might want to take heed.
The words in red when I read the Bible, I take super serious, dude. Like I take all the prophets and Moses and all of them and
Hmm.
what they had to say serious because they were being literally inspired by God to say and do what they did. So it's essentially God speaking through man, and that's what we're trying to teach people is that like anybody can be used by God. He uses ordinary people. He doesn't use the most righteous man, or he said he came to be with the sinner, not the saint. He sat with the sinners.
Right.
He sat with the Gentiles. He didn't sit with the Pharisees. And those were the religious men. Those were the men that were supposed to know who he was.
Well, I think he sat with them too, but they just didn't accept him, kind of
Well,
thing,
yeah,
you
they
know.
wanted to kill him. So why would you want to sit with somebody that wants to murder you?
Well, and you go, or it's like Nicodemus at the dead of night up on top of the roof because he doesn't want to be seen
He's a coward. He
in
wasn't
the
one of the active.
chains.
Yeah, because
Mm,
like I said, this is why you actually see Jesus in the Bible preaching outside so much, is because every time he went in the temple to try and talk, it would get so crowded that he would literally have Pharisees in there watching him. And as soon as he slipped up or said something that
mm,
they thought was wrong, see, they didn't agree with that he was God. And so he's trying to tell them, I'm the authority here. I'm the one that runs the temple. And they're like, no, no, we are. And so if he said something, they're like, he deserves to be stoned. And then they start stirring up the crowd, kind of like a riot or something. And they're getting people all riled up and saying, look at what this man's saying. This is what the law of Moses says. And he's like, but I'm sitting here quoting the law of Moses. Like, I am the law of Moses. But see, he couldn't get himself trapped in those temples too much because they literally, many
oh
times you see
yeah,
in Mark a lot. Mark's like saying, and Jesus was in the temple, and then all of a sudden he dipped out. Like he ran away because it was like, dude, it's not time for me to die right now. But if I get myself cornered, like I will die. And so outside was easier for Jesus to A, preach to more people and have more people gather, and then B, he didn't put himself kind of boxed in. So he really did want to preach in the temple. That's his, But the Pharisees, being these religious men of Rome, pretty much like, yeah, they say they're for God, but they're under Rome's thumb with the rulership of
hmm,
Caesar. I mean, even when they tried to trap Jesus and tell him like, what do you think about money and giving taxes and stuff, and he goes, well, give me a coin whose face is on it, and they go, well, it's Caesar's, and he goes, well, render what to Caesar what's Caesar's.
right.
You know what I mean? So they're always trying to set a trap for him. So
Oh, they
that's the
tried to trap him all the time. Of course, they just wanted one, time to be able to
well, they
accuse
wanted to
him of
stone him. Yeah,
something.
they wanted to kill him,
Hmm.
which they ultimately, that's what they got. And the way they got him was because he said, I am. And so when people say that God or Jesus didn't say he was God, that was the reason the Pharisees killed him. So you clearly not reading your Bible, or you're not understanding what Jesus said when they said, are you the Son of God? And he said, I am.
Hmm.
And when he said that, they said, blasphemy. Like nobody can be God, especially in the flesh as a man like you. You are not God. And now you deserve the worst punishment that we can essentially give a human being, which is the crucifixion. Like that is evil to crucify somebody. If you understand like why somebody would be crucified, not just because it's attached to religion or whatever.
Well, yeah, there were
No,
tons of people crucified throughout history,
exactly.
and it
It's not
was.
just like special to Jesus. Like the crucifixion was a torturous way to kill somebody because
Hmm.
what's interesting about the crucifixion and Jesus and how actually quickly he died after he got crucified was that it was meant to torture you into death
Hmm.
because the way they nailed your hands in, obviously, so you're sitting there, your whole body weight's hanging from nails and your feet are
Well, yeah,
plat.
you would like basically suffocate.
And that's why, yeah, exactly. So you see, like in movies and stuff, they'll put his feet on a block and then they nail the feet
Hmm.
into a block. That's because now instead of your feet dangling and you having like an open passageway, they're essentially crunching up your stomach and your abdomen so that you can't breathe while you're hanging up there with your hands above your head. So you're literally suffocating into death. Like
Yeah.
it's a terrible way to die. Like there's tons of bad
Yeah.
ways to die, but this was seriously one of the most barbaric and evil things that you could do to a human being, even if they deserved it. And Jesus obviously did not deserve it. So he endured the worst and he took a beating before it too. The punishment is like, we'll just whip him, whip him for what you want.
Flog
But
it.
then, yeah,
Hmm.
yep. And give him his lashes and then let him go. But they're like, that's not enough. Like, we want him killed. And literally, he got passed between leaders. I mean, this is even the evil
Well,
leaders. They
they
could not
chose a
find
murderer over him to save
Barabbas.
too.
Yes, yes. So that's what tells you like when humans are like, oh, religious people, they just love believing in stories. It's like humans don't actually choose God when it comes down to choosing him over the world or what they think is right. When they
Well,
had
that's
God
what
in
I
the
was
presence.
thinking about. It's kind of crazy that the Jewish people, the tribes, were, kind the reason that Jesus got crucified, and they were the chosen tribes of Jesus, of God.
Well, and that's kind of
Like,
goes into today. Like obviously Jew and Gentile, that kind of distinction is no more in the
no.
grace of God and his eyes. It doesn't matter whether you're Jew or Gentile, but he's got an everlasting covenant from the Old Testament with the Jews. Hence, going back to the old is important to understand the future and Revelation, which I think a lot of people don't talk about because they don't want to get into the anti-Semitic of being like, that's it, the Jews are the this or that. Like, because if you start talking about Jews, then all of a sudden you start saying bad things about them, you're now an anti-Semitic. But see, I'm not here to knock the Jews. I'm just here to tell you that the Jews that you think are Jews, the Bible has already called out that they're actually the synagogue of Satan. Okay. And so
Hmm.
when you understand when people are knocking the Jews, like kind of like Kanye was, now he went off a little bit without, like, I'm trying to make you understand I have nothing against Jewish people. And guess what? God has a promise with them. So Jewish people that want to believe that their Messiah has not come yet, he will profess himself to them in a way that they will understand and know. But that's the thing is when you read the revelation of John on the island of Patmos, there's a very special period of time for the Jews in the end times, and that would be the tribulation, because essentially what's going to happen, without getting too deep into that book, because that's a whole nother hour of itself, the tribulation is God's promise to bring the Jews back to him. You need to understand when you read Revelation, it is particularly for Jews in Israel, because what they're going to do is they're going to take the Antichrist and they're going to put him in the
But
temple
so
and
you
say
don't
that,
think the tribulation's for everybody?
no, it is, but like it's good because remember he talks about the tribes in Israel, like it goes back to tribes and the 144,000 and stuff. So there's a very specific like group of people that God is trying to tell us about in Revelation, and I couldn't essentially tell you exactly what that means. Everyone will go. It's the
Right.
unbelievers essentially. That's what
Mhm.
it is. But that's why the Jews will go through tribulation, and why a lot of people get confused with the church age and the age of tribulation and what it's actually for, and that's to bring God's people back to Him. But unfortunately he's going to put him through the craziest time on earth ever, and that's what we're here to do, is tell people like you don't want to go through that period. And it doesn't matter whether the rapture or whatever you believe, pre-trib, I don't care about that stuff because I could die tomorrow and then I don't really care about any of that. Like I'm literally in
Mhm.
heaven or hell. And that's the point of being a watchman, is you're not here to tell people about the future of I know this or I know that. No, a watchman didn't blow a false horn. He didn't say, I thought somebody was coming. You know what I mean? Like, no, he waited till he seen the trouble and then he started blowing the trumpet. We got too
Mhm.
many watchmen on the tower that are drinking the wine and going,
Mm.
oh wait, I was wrong. There wasn't anything. It was just a shadow, or just saying
Yep.
Christ is coming on. If you'll never hear a date from me, you'll never hear a date from Taylor. Anybody that's associated with us that we like bring into the space, if
Well,
they're
and
trying
that's
to
not
tell us,
what it's about, is
it's
trying to
not what it's
predict the
about.
date.
No, it's not. Tribulation is literally to bring people back to God, because it is a message. It's a message
Yeah.
that if you're trusting in this beast system that will rise and that we see with everything rising right now, the mark of the beast, which I couldn't tell you essentially 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it says something will be in your right hand and in your forehead. And now we've got the neurological chip going into the brain, which essentially will make you a robot and be able to upload information to the cloud. And then you've got a microchip that you can just put into your hand that can
Well,
literally,
what's crazy is you'll be like a cyborg. You'll be a living
yes,
organism with an AI processor. And
that's
it's
what,
like you're connected to the network at that point, obviously, because it's not
and
computer
that's,
technology. So it's just kind of wild to think because it's gonna create different like sects of society. I feel like of superhuman quote unquote people when
I
they
mean,
have AI versus a normal human.
I
Like,
really
well, you
think that it's not. I think it's more like Surrogate, the movie with Bruce Willis, where they get everybody to lay in a pod like Player Ready One, and now you've got like this digital uploaded world that you go and interact in, and they got people so scared to leave their house to real like that's a crazy movie, dude, because that's essentially what it is. Like you have a clone version of yourself that goes out
yeah, I
into the
think
real world,
that's like one
and
of those possibilities. It's just kind of down the road a little
oh
bit.
yeah, down the road. But that's the first thing they want people to do is start uploading their consciousness. And you see it with
Hmm.
all kinds of crazy movies, even the movie with Johnny Depp. What is the movie where he uploads himself to a computer?
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, dude. And then you've got Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise, where he literally enters and puts himself into a alternate dream state, like in cryogenics, and then by the end, spoilers. This
Hmm.
spoilers. I mean, these are movies though that you need to watch, not because you like want to be entertained. You need to see what they're trying to tell you they want and what they want humans to like progress to the next thing. That is literally the job of the mystery schools is to keep things a mystery, but also unlock mysteries as you further into their school of thinking, like Scientology. He
Hmm.
got everybody into that because he kept releasing volumes of his books and it kept people wanting more. And so he said, well, if you want to know the next stage of progress in Scientology, you got to buy the book. And so
Hmm.
that's where humans like they're always searching for this enlightenment or this truth, like whatever it be that you think in life. Something will make you feel like it is true and then bring your mind and your heart into it. And then you begin to indulge and you
Well,
begin to believe.
that's the thing with all those secret societies is you basically pay money to advance through the ranks, you know.
Yes. Back
That's
to
the that's the true language they speak, and it's like, and that's the one good thing about the churches, you know. Obviously, they're still free because I feel like once a church starts charging anything just to hear the gospel, you know, it's a free message. It's a free gift. No one needs to
exactly.
pay anything for it, and
Yeah,
so
and
it's like,
so I think with that, we've been here and there, but like I said, this is what we're talking about. Like the flood has plenty of relevance today, not because God's going to flood the earth, but because the symbol that we see being used for perversion in Pride
mhm,
Month literally goes back to a covenant. This isn't just, I really could care less about the rainbow or what symbol they use, but the fact that they're using a covenant from God to make this month and use it to promote these really crazy agendas, which, you know what? Whatever you choose to do sexually, truly, I don't care. Like, I don't care because it's probably a sin. And you just looking at pornography as the average person, if you've looked at it, you're just as bad. So remember that when you go
well,
to
and
judge
it's
somebody.
just Satan causing division is what it really
Exactly,
is.
dude.
That's
Exactly.
what
And
it
so
really
I'm,
is
I'm not
about.
here to knock the community. I want to help the community and help them see that the only reason I'm truly against homosexuality, truly, Taylor, and anybody listening, it doesn't create life. Like population will not go on.
But
And
yet,
I have,
you know, it's like you can still get along with those people just
yeah.
because
Oh,
you disagree with them. That's the
I
thing.
have,
People, it's like,
I
if
have
you
people in my
disagree
life that
with me,
are
I have, yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, the
exactly.
world,
Even the
because,
Christians. I'm mad at
oh,
Christians
there's
right now.
judgmental
Actually,
Christians.
the
Hmm.
judgmental Christians. I see it too many times where they're in the streets and they're sitting there chanting with a crazy perverted sign that's literally just meant to attack right at the heart and doesn't give them any hope. They just say you're gonna burn in hell. Like if you're a Christian doing that, you need to recheck your faith. Like right now. Like I won't hang out with you if you're gonna go and do stuff like that. If you tell me to go to one of those things and I see you doing that, I will leave immediately because that is not what God calls us to do, is to push hate. I want people when they listen to my podcast and say, oh, look at this, because there's gonna be people listen and be like, oh, these guys are transphobes, homophobes, what like whatever the name that they'll put on me, just like conspiracy theorists. I don't care because at the end of the day, if you actually listen to what I'm saying, I love everybody. I truly
Mhm.
pray for everybody. I
Yep.
want people to stop sinning in the sense of you never will stop sinning, but when you become a member of the body of Christ, which is what it means when you join, you give your life to Jesus, you now become part of a family. You don't want to mislead the family. You don't want to go
Mm.
against what the family wants. And who's the dad? It's God. So when you're in a
Yep.
family, you listen to your father, and that's what you want to do because you know that he's just trying to look out for your life. Anybody with a good father right now, or that's been blessed with a great father, which remember, if you have good parents, even if you don't see eye to eye with them, count your blessings because
Mhm.
literally that is one of the greatest blessings that God could ever give you on earth is two parents or two people or somebody to care about you because unfortunately there's lots of people that are born into these mystery schools and guess what, they're just a number, they're just another kid, or they're just, unfortunately, they're just another tool to keep the generational cycle of control going on. So I actually feel bad, like, personally.
With
Hunt
parents is
is,
like
oh yeah, and
it's
see that's,
invaluable,
and so
really.
that's why, like, right now people are so mad about Hunter Biden. Yeah, he's made a bunch of stupid choices and this dude is very perverted, but look at
I
his
just can't
dad.
believe that
Look at his
nothing
dad
happens
though.
still.
Of course, yeah, of course. Then nothing's gonna happen. That's why
I
we
think
have to
that's the
expose it.
sad reality. I'm not expecting it to happen.
There's probably gonna be something happen, but it's gonna be a great deception, and that's what I want people to also look out for. Like the way they're gonna break things is with the kids, and that's why it's such a huge thing right now with everything. Doesn't matter whether about Pride Month or the transgender stuff or whatever, just kids in general and the like sexualization or the demoralizing of children. Like I was literally at a party, a birthday party, okay, and it was a little bit disturbing to hear one of the kids, these little kids, tiny kids, like they barely were able to talk. There's a game that you play on the trampoline. I don't know if you ever played on a trampoline, but I actually played this game as a kid. It was called Dead Man, where one person lays in the middle of the trampoline and they act like they're dead. And then the other people on the trampoline go around and they say, Dead Man, come alive at the count to five. And then you like get up in the middle and you try to like touch somebody. Okay. It's just a stupid trampoline game. It was Dead Man when I was a kid. I hear these kids playing, and I'm just playing with my son, and I hear these kids on the trampoline, and the kid starts yelling out, dead baby. I'm like, what? What? Why is a child yelling out dead baby? When did the dead man, which probably isn't good, but
Well, yeah,
dead
I was gonna say
baby's
dead
a
man.
little bit.
It sounded like a
Oh, it's
chant when
oh,
you
it's
were like
probably, oh yeah,
a
all
kid.
these, and when you look at these child nursery rhymes and
Oh
stuff, and all
yeah.
the child, that's, see, that goes now deeper into Disney and his obsession with Alice in Wonderland and who wrote Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll. Okay, you just do a
Hmm.
day research on Lewis Carroll. This dude was weird and he was sick, like, but he lived in a time where it was not looked upon. Like he actually did, so he worked at Oxford and he
Hmm.
was a really private guy. I don't even want to get into it because like literally, but Walt Disney is obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. That's one of the biggest, that was one of his biggest creations, and he even did an animated short film on Alice in Wonderland, like one of those stop film animations before the
Hmm.
movie even. So he really had a big obsession with Alice in Wonderland. So that kind of throws up a red flag right away because you look at who created Alice in Wonderland, and you're like, why would anybody be obsessed with this guy in this story? Like it's about a little girl that he literally had an obsession with and would take very
Well, there's
risque
that one,
photos.
Yeah.
Pinocchio. Pinocchio is the
Hmm.
is the
Another
is the
super old story.
that's not like this. Even Disney says it, but
No.
even in Disney, oh my gosh, it's so perfect, dude. In Disney,
Yeah.
Pinocchio gets persuaded by the fox, and who's the fox? The deceiver. He's trying to tell Pinocchio that he can be rich and famous, and so he deceives him into going and leaving his
Going
parents
into the show
and going into the
entertainment
show,
is a puppet.
entertainment, and then the guy says, "Oh, you're fantastic. You'll be a wonderful star." And he gives Pinocchio a fake coin because Pinocchio has no idea
Hmm.
about the value of money and what he's actually got himself into. And Jiminy Cricket is the worst consciousness ever. Let's just put that out into
Well, you
space right
can't
now.
stop people. That's the
No,
thing.
but Jiminy was supposed to in the movie be stopping him from doing that stuff. But
Well,
yeah,
but
it's
it's your
kind of,
conscience.
it's
It's
true.
a representation of people don't always listen to their conscience, even when it's telling them the right thing to do.
It's true, but Jiminy actually abandons Pinocchio in that movie. Unlike God, God's always with you, trying to warn you with the Holy Spirit. And I actually haven't read the book Pinocchio for a long time, and I know it actually ends. It actually ends with Pinocchio getting hung in a tree by the fox because they like want to kill Pinocchio. So it's actually a really perverted story because I guess the author's intention was to show kids like if you don't listen to your parents, you'll probably get hung and killed. Like it was really radical and it was to kind of scare kids. You know, that's the way they describe the authors, but when you actually
Hmm.
read it, it's very dark and perverted, and it's you wonder why it became one of the most famous children's stories throughout the whole world, not just America and Disney. Like these books are like world renowned books that are
Well,
like,
right.
you know, Wallace and Wonderland. I think is the most. I don't know if it's that or Pinocchio, but one of those books is the most translated children's book in all of the world, and like it has multiple languages. So this isn't just like an American Disney or kid thing. This is like a cultural, it's like cult classic type of deal. Like it hits on culture and hits on
Hmm.
different aspects that people can relate to. And that's why it gains so much like almost nostalgia every single year and never dies. It just kind of continues to grow this nostalgia of how this style was. But you look into these styles of art and all this perverted crap, it's dark and twisted, and it usually ends with some type of sacrifice, whether that be the child losing a parent or a loved one or the child himself getting sacrificed. Like it
Oh yeah.
always comes back to
Well, yeah.
sacrifice, and not like you
Or
said,
just
not
death in general.
and death. Exactly. And so, yeah, Pinocchio gets taken to Pleasure Island where all the good boys go and they get to do whatever they want, but they never leave as boys. And that it's a weird
Well,
movie. You know,
like there's Peter Pan. There's a bunch.
Peter Pan. Yes, and
That's what
that
I'm
goes
saying.
into the God Pan. So see, we can
Mm.
content is not the issue here. It's trying to keep
Well,
it
and that's
all
three movies of Disney that are pretty deep,
really
like
deep. And
movies, but they're cartoons. So, those older stories had like a lot of craziness to their stories, but like kind
I
of
mean,
having some deeper meaning. Well, they get twisted by the mystery
yes,
schools and they use those
yes.
films.
So yeah, I think that gets really right into what we want to talk about with Bill Cooper, and he's got a series called The Hour of the Time. We've talked about that before. He started a radio show kind of like what we're doing, and he's talking about all the crazy stuff in the mystery schools and trying to get people to understand what it means. And so I think it'd be good to just listen to like 10 minutes of his show that he started because he really was hyper focused into what he was trying to do and what he was trying to expose. So with that, let us watch The Hour of the Time by Bill Cooper. And this is the first one of the first episodes that he did. And it's about Mystery Babylon. And it's called The Dawn of Man. Enjoy this short 10 minutes of Bill Cooper speaking and telling you about the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, how the mystery schools put their religion into that whole entire movie to for people to understand and that are well versed, and you'll hear him talk about that. So I think it's just a really great thing to listen to him talk about it because he really does sum it up, you know, in a great way. So with that, let us listen to Bill Cooper.
Welcome to the Hour of the Time. I'm your host, William Cooper. When I first saw the movie 2001, I was amazed, awed, to say the least. The entire scope of the movie was overpowering, and for most of the people of the world, was completely baffling. Most people who saw that movie did not understand from beginning to end what it was that they had experienced, but they knew, everyone who saw it, knew that they had experienced something profound. That something had been communicated to the dark, deep recesses of their mind, which they did not understand, and indeed, which they were incapable of understanding. For you see, the movie was not meant for the profane, as most of us are called by the adepts or the initiates or the priests of the mystery schools. For that movie was a message to those initiates who were well versed in the symbology and the mystery religion of an ancient religion that is practiced to this day in secret. Now, I'm going to tell you the meaning of the symbology that you saw in the movie 2001, and then each and every listener should go to their local video rental store and watch the movie again from beginning to end. For it is the story of the entire human race according to the history of the mystery religion of ancient Babylon. Now, I can assure you that you will not understand any of what you are going to hear without ample preparation and without a basic understanding in the symbology of the ancient religion. And you're going to get that. And this is going to be a series of programs that will, in fact, take probably many hours to complete. But let me just go over the symbology of the movie 2001 quickly with you, and then we will go back to the very beginning, to the first primitive human, probably sitting on his haunches, munching upon some vegetable, watching the sunrise in the east. In the beginning of the movie 2001, most people who sat in the theater were struck by the imagery which was presented to them, as they saw first a dark and gray and ugly world. And as that world began to move down from the center of the screen, they saw behind it a moon. And as the moon began to come down with the world that was sinking to the lower part of the screen, behind it you saw the emergence of the sun. What you were witnessing was an eclipse of the sun, partial eclipse. And as the light from the sun spilled across the edge of the moon, it took the shape of the boat of Isis. And the sun, of course, for anyone who has studied the Osirian cycle, became Osiris. And the symbology was Osiris riding across the heavens upon the boat of Isis. Now, this will all have much deeper meaning to you as we progress toward your education in the ancient mystery schools, which are today known by many different names, and we will get to some of those names as we go along. This signified, of course, the creation of the universe and of the world. And what we saw next was a barren plain, nothing growing, barren rocks, barren desert. And then we saw the sun begin to rise in the east over the horizon, signifying the birth of the world.
All right.
Dude.
That's a that's a lot right there. And people that are watching, they're going to listen to this and they're just going to be like, what the heck was that? And that's exactly what he's talking about. He
Well,
literally
he
told
said
you.
that himself right
He
before
said
it
it.
went. He said you're gonna have no idea what I'm talking about.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing, is because we're just trying to keep his message alive, because we don't want what he was trying to do to be in vain, and we don't want people to get lost and caught up into these films, into these crazy things that they're actually telling us in these films or these different forms of entertainment. And that's where me and Taylor are also, like, why we like watching movies or like seeing the spin on movies. We believe that Stanley Kubrick, maybe he sold out in the beginning to because he got recruited, and like anybody, they're trying to make their dream come alive, and then all of a sudden somebody comes along and says, hey, we like what you're doing, and they pay you a big sum of money, and then all of a sudden you're in, and you don't think anything of it, and then all of a sudden you're trying to make like three more movies, and they're like, well, this is what we want now, and you're like, wait, this is how it goes. I thought I had the creative direction, I'm the producer, I'm the one that's doing this. And so I think that's where Stanley met his match with Hollywood and the government's involvement and like what they want him to do. And so he said, okay, well, if you guys want me to push an agenda, I'll push it, but I'll put so much deepness into it that you will think that I'm actually not exposing you with it, but I'm actually exposing you. And anybody that actually knows what I'm trying to do in my film knows that I'm actually trying to wake people up to this. And I truly believe there was a point in his career where he began making film that way. And he's a huge
Well,
person in Hollywood. I
oh,
mean, I
he
have
was, yeah, one of the biggest directors
this
of
this
his day.
movie this movie that Bill's talking about right now, 2001 Space Odyssey.
Hmm.
This broke, like, this was like the modern day Avatar type of like with the way James, I think it was James Cameron, right, that did Avatar. Um,
Yeah.
the way because the way they filmed Avatar, that was a whole new camera system. Like the way they were able to shoot, like the camera was showing that like the world that they were actually green screening, and like it was just the way they were able to implement these new techniques of the way they've shot film and produced these things with the effects and stuff pretty much just are continuous building blocks of what Stanley did, because Stanley really pushed the limit with this 2001 Space Odyssey, which most people will watch this movie. Like it's heavily attached to like a community, a small niche of people, whether that be that they're into psychedelics or something like that. Or, like I said, this is one of those movies that's considered a cult classic because it has a much deeper meaning to the film than like when you would sit down and watch this movie. If you didn't know like what we're talking about or what Bill's trying to talk about, you'd literally just think this is a really weird movie. Like
Well,
truly, it's a
even just
weird
taking
movie.
it at face value, yeah, the beginning scene that this is talking about, it's got like classical music playing and it's kind of slow paced. And then, like you said, you see these really horrible looking, what they're supposed to look like monkeys, but
Oh
they're
my gosh, they
turning
look
into
so bad.
monkey suits. And yeah, it's just strange. And this is, but in the mystery schools, like this is kind of, like you said, the story of how it came to be for them.
And so they're talking how man used to be a monkey, or like in the mystery schools, how we were in the dark and not knowing information about the heavenly. And once the sun passed over these monkeys or the creations, they began to see that they were now not just in the creation, but they were a part of it that could function. And that's the
Well,
whole
in this
point.
monolith, the black
Yes.
monolith has a big, the black cube, which
The
is
black,
kind of,
yeah, that
and
has,
that's
dude.
the gift of reason. That's what they're signifying is because then he picks up the bone and he starts swinging it and hitting it, and he realizes, oh, I can use this as a tool. And then those monkeys that were guarding the water goes over and kills them, and then it's like, uh-oh, the bullies like run away basically after he murders them, and then they start ruling the other tribe of fake monkeys. And
So yeah, these mystery religions and these schools, like this is what they believe, and this is why they put it in film, is so that they can project it to others or see how others can see the symbolism and the signs that they're talking about. And man, it's just so crazy how much indoctrination really goes into all of this stuff, and how much you look at evolution and this idea about being God and that we're created from magical space dust or whatever it is, or aliens created us. Like it's just this continuous agenda, it seems like, being pushed not only right now in our modern day age, but just like I said, even in the old times, the old days, like the story he was talking about with Osiris and Isis and the worship of the sun. This is the origin. This is Satan using his influence on mankind to quote unquote show that he is God, that he is the God of this earth. Because remember, he fell from heaven. He fell, as we read in Isaiah, he fell from heaven because he lost his place, because he tried to overthrow the creator. Now, that's where I try to tell people you can't overthrow the creator. You cannot ever overcome. That's why essentially we all die, is because none of us are God and can keep ourselves from coming from that. Because if we could, or if we found the true fountain of youth or whatever it is that we all want to believe that keeps us young and alive forever, it'll never happen because we are not God. We are not in the same realm of God. And so Satan, being made in the quote unquote the realm of God and not like humans, but still having his choice, he deceived a third of the angels in heaven. Now, these are things that are in the presence of God and his glory and helping him create essentially, and whatever's happening in the realm that we cannot see on earth. They understand everything. They know it. And they still rebelled and followed this fallen angel of light, Lucifer, Satan, the snake, the dragon. So many people will argue and say that it's Satan's not who he is, or say that the name's Lucifer. Like I said, it's just more division. It's just more division is what Satan always wants, because the more division you have, the less clear the truth becomes, and the less easier it is to find truth, the more people you can catch in the snare. So That's why Jesus had to come and do what he did, and made such a huge impact on people, because he said, I'm the truth, the way, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. And so when people heard that, they're like, wait, so you're essentially saying that you are the truth and you set me free from my transgression. So that's the biggest tool that we can give you right now in your investigative research. Or if you take this stuff and want to pursue it different, look into it, read it, both sides of it, the good and the bad, and then you can make a better decision about what it's actually trying to do. And that's what watchmen are here to do, is just watch, see, and blow the trumpet when you see trouble. And trouble is at the gate. We see it, and that's why we're blowing the trumpet. And we just want others to get on watch with us, so that we can get as many people as we can to see, hey, you don't need to be living in fear every single day when you have God. He is not the author of fear or confusion. He's the author of love, grace, hope, and joy. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the next one.
All right. Take care, buddy. Until next time. God
Thank you,
bless
TMAC.
everybody.
Yeah. God bless everybody. And thanks again for tuning in, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Thanks for tuning in. To know the duty of a watchman, please read Ezekiel 33. Join the movement today. Follow on Instagram at Watchman Inc. for more details, content, and community interaction. Links in the description. God bless.